Hey, let's light her up. You guys ready? Okay, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday, September 6th City Council meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order and will be led in prayer by Pastor Mike. Or should I said Father Mike?
Well, we're powerfully grateful for the greening of Watertown after that drought summer, more rain yet last night and the night before. I begin with Psalm 106. Give thanks to the Lord is good, for his kindness endures forever. Who can tell the mighty deeds of the Lord, or proclaim all his praises? Let us pray. God of life and love, we pray for our city of Watertown. Grant us peace in our community, honesty in our trading, hospitality and warmth in our welcoming, integrity in our planning and civic life, that the common good may prevail and your kingdom of righteousness and justice be affirmed. We ask this in your name, Lord God, who are the way, the truth, and the life. Amen.
Thank you very much. Shelley, would you like to do roll call for us?
I would love to. Albertson.
Here.
Bueller.
Here.
Danforth.
Here.
Manti. Here. Riefenberger is absent. Roby is absent. Solem.
Here.
Thorson.
Here.
Tupper.
Here.
Billhauer is absent. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Okay, number one, at this time, we will look for an approval of consent agenda. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by John, second by Beth. There has been some questions about some of the things we did have on our work session about the Big Sioux River Weir Breach Repair Project. That's going through at this particular time. We're looking at, Shane, you never really said what month we're looking at, but we should be putting that in November, late October, early November, or late November?
Hopefully we can start construction in early November.
Okay, so that's on there. And then the Park and Rec did go through their process, and they're asking us to go out for bids for the Splash Park. The Splash Park is going to roughly cost about that, I think that $160,000 or so. That's been budgeted for the 2016 budget, which we had that in 2015. Once they come back with the bids, they will tell us exactly where they're going with that project, whether it be Highland Park, Riverside Park, someplace, one of the parks they're looking at. I was hoping that we would have had that location by now, but I have been told it will be, by the time they get the bids here, we'll understand that. And then the skate park, they are advertising for the skate park, which is an exciting one. That, of course, is going out by the Cook Complex out in that area. And that has got some pretty good sponsors behind that. I believe it's up as high as $210,000. I think the city has $170,000 into it. And there will be sponsors that will be adding dollars to it. But we will know by the time they come back with the bids how many dollars that those other sponsors are putting into it. Other than that, is there any other questions that you have for me on any of these?
I do have one, Mayor. B on the consent agenda, the write-off, the uncollectible ambulance accounts. Does it seem like that sort of keeps escalating?
Well, it does.
Is that because of the volume? The volume's up, or?
Yeah, there's quite a simple reason behind this, and it's always, I've struggled with it over the years, but our volume is up. Medicare payments is where the largest percentage of those dollars come from. What happens is we charge, and I'm just going to throw these numbers at you, we charge $750 or $800 for an ambulance call, and Medicare allows, say, $550 or $600 for that call. That's what they'll pay us. So that's where the difference comes in. So we have to accept what they give us, so we have to write off the difference. And Shelley, you might want to fill in a little further on that.
Right. The ones that you're seeing on the agenda, they're actually ones that are going to collections. You'd probably be a little shocked if you actually saw our mandatory write-offs, what the mayor is kind of referring to. That's probably 3 times more than what you see here per month. But these are ones that have been deemed uncollectible. The attempts to collect them have been unsuccessful. And part of that is they'll increase as we increase our billing costs every time we raise our fees. We've been seeing more transfers. Those generally cost more, so each one of those accounts will be more. I don't know that the number of people is necessarily going up astronomically, but I think just the amount that we're writing off, the charges are bigger.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 2, approve the agenda. At this time, I'll look for a motion in a second. I do have a change that I'm going to do. On this particular one, item number 14, consideration of a loan request from Lions Club to build a picnic shelter and restroom at Lions Park. I'd like to pull that off. It's not that we're against the project or anything. I just think that we should have had a better understanding of what they're looking for. And I do think that at that particular time, we would have preferred to have the entire council here to make that decision. But I think they'll come back. We've been informed that they'll have that information for us for the next agenda, and then we'll know exactly how many dollars the group is looking for, what the interest rates are, what they would expect, and so forth. So on that, I will look for a motion, a second for discussion.
So move.
Motion by Randy, second by Dan. Any other questions, any changes you need to make? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, application for a new retail on-off sale malt beverage and a new retail on-off sale wine license to PRG Watertown, doing business as Marco's Pizza at 817 9th Avenue Southeast. At this time, I will open the public hearing if there's somebody who wants to speak in favor of or against this. Hearing none, I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Bruce. Second by Mike. Any questions on this?
Is this any different than the license that was in the previous Pizza Hut?
I don't believe they had a wine license, did they?
So, yeah, the other one was just beer and...
I think so, yeah. The owner is in the audience if anybody had questions for him.
Yeah, when are you going to open?
3 weeks ago, that's what we always say, right? But no, we're a family-style restaurant, and you know, we're.
Can you guys turn his mic on? It is
I
on.
need to speak up. Sorry. Thank you. But we're a family-style dine-in pizza restaurant, and at all the stores that I have, we serve beer and wine. It's a small percentage of sales. We have all the servers go through like the ServSafe alcohol compliance training. You know, when they're hired. So we're familiar with, I guess, how to operate in that kind of atmosphere. So.
And he has Marcos all over the state of South Dakota, so it's kind of exciting, and welcome in Watertown.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to it. Appreciate it.
All right. So at this time, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good luck. We do like pizza here once in a while, you know, between work sessions, and I'm just throwing it out there, okay? Just, and it's not a bribe. Yeah. All right. Okay. Number 4, application for a special retail malt beverage and wine license to the Chamber of Commerce for the period of 5 p.m. Thursday, September 15th of 2016 until 8 p.m. on Thursday, September 15th of 2016 for the Reds, Whites, Brews, and Blues event. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody that wants to speak in favor of or against this, there's your opportunity. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by John. Any questions, discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, a resolution to submit an application for a community development block grant for the city of Watertown, resolution number 16-30. Just a quick update on that. This was discussed in heavy detail early on our work session, and it was very informative. Thanks Liz and Lucas and all for doing that for us. So at this time, I will open a public hearing if anybody wants to speak in favor of or against this. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Dan, second by Bruce. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 flows right along with it. It's a resolution to designate a certifying officer for the purpose of signing required CDBG grant documents for the city of Watertown, resolution number 16-31. I will look for a motion, a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by Bruce. Any questions on this? This allows us to actually be the go-between for the Boys and Girls Club and allow the mayor to sign this. No further discussion here. Hearing, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Well, go out and get it, okay? We're counting on you. All right. Number 7, proposed ground lease agreement with Tim Peterson for a private hangar at the regional airport. At this time, I will open a public hearing if there's anybody here who wants to speak in favor of or against this. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'm going to look for a motion in a second.
So moved.
I have a motion by Randy, second by Beth. Discussion. Todd, you want to come up and give us a little bit on this?
Todd, is this an existing hangar or one that he's going to build, or?
This is a new build.
Okay.
And would you explain it? I think this is a lease agreement for property, not for the hangar. The hangar is owned by the owner.
Correct. This is a ground lease for a private hangar. So he'd be paying for the ground that his hangar goes on. He's responsible to pay for the hangar.
Will he be leasing that out to others?
No. There's no subletting. He can sell it, but there's no subletting.
Is he responsible for the infrastructure in regards to any sewer, water type thing?
Yes.
For all those costs?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know how this compares to other communities, similar type airports? I mean, it seemed incredibly cheap to me when I look at it for less than $1,000 a year. But what? How does this compare to an Aberdeen or other airports that are our size type?
This is fair market value. Rapid City and Sioux Falls, due to the lack of space that they have available, are at 21 cents a square foot, but everybody else is right around that 12 to 15 cents a square foot.
Todd, why is it necessary to go 25 years? It's probably common to do this, but why do we got to go out so far? I mean, why couldn't this be a 10-year lease?
I guess if I was going to build a hangar on leased property.
Or if you put it out there for 99, I don't know.
You can't go any farther than 25 years, so that's why we do it.
But
and it does have a 2%.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it does have a 2% increase right there, actually. Our rent will be automatically increased 2% October 1st, 2017. So we do have step clauses in all of our leases now.
And I would add, if I could, that the FAA's compliance manual talks about ground leases and that, you know, that long a term is necessary for somebody building a new structure to recoup what they put into it. And I think the phrase that they use is provide a reasonable return for the tenant's development of major facilities.
Just a minor thing on there, but you guys do denote specifically what the entry pass is, or for $5, I think it is.
A key, correct.
A key?
Yep, a gate key.
Over 25, shouldn't we just say that they pay the current city cost on that? Because 25 years from now, I doubt it's going to be $5.
It probably has been for the last 25. That's why they're.
Well, you know, as things go, I'm just saying, it's a minor thing, but it seems like you're putting a fixed number in there on a 25-year lease, but seems odd.
I'll look at it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Number 8, vacation of public right-of-way between Lot 1, Block 2, Southside Addition, and Lot 7, Block 2, the Polson's Addition. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody who wants to speak in favor of or against this is your opportunity. Don't be shy if you wanted to say anything. Otherwise, oh, sure, I had to call. I didn't see you sitting back there. You were hiding behind him.
There's a method in my madness, Your Honor. Your Honor, this item, the Spies Brothers own this particular chunk of the vacations that we're talking about. And they brought this to the council's attention, and then it came to Tara Forsberg's attention, and mine, and our thoughts were, well, a street to nowhere is nothing. And so the Spies right now have plans to build a very significant structure on this particular property, which will obviously generate tax revenues and employ people and otherwise be a good project for the city. Right now, Tara and I don't have any plans to do anything other than pick up where you guys haven't been cleaning up the property and otherwise take care of it. But I did. Because it does get to be kind of grungy back there. But the Spies project is going forward now. I think, Ed, you already have a building permit, don't you?
No, we did. We have because we sizing and placing on the lot.
Yeah, they were just kind of waiting to make sure that this went through.
And when this is, as it's gone through the Planning Commission in the process, really, if you keep 4th Street and 5th Street open north and south, you don't have 10th Avenue access to Highway 81. This is an example of a street going nowhere.
Yeah, it was, we were looking at this during our work session in great detail. It finally ended up that there was consensus that it was okay to close that. It's just that they wanted to make sure that 3rd Street stayed open and 4th Street, and then come through on 11th or 12th, something, whatever avenue that is on the bottom. So at some point in time, this is going to be expanded upon, I would think, with the theater going on down there and things.
And this is the first time in decades that there's been any activity down there.
It's exciting to see it.
Mm-hmm. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for John? We'll do them one at a time.
Ed, could you step up to the mic for me, please? Thank you. Say, the question I have is on your project that you're dealing with now. Where is that positioned on this lot in relationship to the current lot line?
Well, where we're talking about putting it is the Bill Neal building there that would be up by the highway straight north of where your cursor is. Somewhere just to the south of that, we'd build a building running north and south, facing west. And the size of it, of course, would depend on if this road gets fit,
Yeah, what they'll allow you
Yeah.
for setbacks.
And how close would it be to that right-of-way line, or are you going to go past that right-of-way line?
No, I don't think we'd be able to because of the utility easement that's in there, but we'd probably build right up to it, similar
Yeah.
to the way it is on the building.
Right on the
across
yellow
street.
line there?
Yeah, just like the ones that are on the west side there.
Yes, for clarification, we are retaining a full utility easement throughout the whole road right-of-way. And basically what would be, the roadway would become part of their offset that would be required, their side yard offset.
What's the right-of-way width on these, Shane?
I believe it's 80 feet.
I'd love to see whatever happen here, but I'm still a believer that even though that road, that area does not and would not connect over to 10th Avenue on the opposite side of Highway 81, I'm still a believer that that could be an important roadway for us as this gets developed in this area. I have heard a lot of concerns about 4th Street as it comes up to Highway 212. And I think to expect people to come out of those businesses in that corner and then drive 2 blocks to the south and take a left or a right, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to come out and they're going to continue to use 4th Street then just because it's close. Whereas if 10th eventually did go in there, I think people would come out, they would go over, and they would go up to the next street to the west, whatever that is. And I still think that if we narrow up the right-of-way and maybe allow a variance in regards to the which would be your side yard setback in this case, I think you'd be able to get what you want. We'd retain our utilities easement, and we'd have the area for a road if we wanted it.
So if I understand you, Mike, you're just saying, let's say that I'm in Taco Bell, and I head out and I want to go out onto Highway 212, but I don't want to go out on 4th Street. What you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, you go south, and if we built a new road for those people to go through there, which is a very expensive 1 block, we'd have to build that 10th Avenue. Am I correct on that? And then they would go back up to Highway 212 to try to get out there at 1 block further to the west. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. Any thought to that, Shane?
Neither 3rd Street or 4th Street will be a controlled intersection, so they're going to be at the mercy of the traffic flow on 212 to enter that, especially with regards to left-hand turn movements. So both streets will continue to have the same conflicts tomorrow as they do today.
Shane, the one thing I'll disagree with you on is when you are heading from west to east on Highway 212, you have a turning lane that is right in front of the north side of the Taco Bell business. And that turning lane, when we've got truck traffic and other traffic there, when there is a light at times, gets backed up, that it closes up that intersection.
That's true.
And we've heard this from people, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And as this area develops, and Ed, I'm not sure what type of building you're putting there and what its purpose is, but I don't know what kind of draw that's going to bring to people. So to bring more traffic into that area. And to me, I look at it and say, if we can accommodate the request, still maintain this a 66-foot right-of-way, and you get to build what you want, it just seems to me like that's a win-win scenario. But that's just my feeling on it. So.
One option, if we were to consider retaining that for a potential road someday, I doubt that probably would ever happen, but it could. I think that a Board of Adjustments action would have to take place in order to allow that. In other words, we could retain that, but they would have to get a Board of Adjustments approval for the setback.
Yes, variances would need to be approved by that board.
Okay. Any other questions for Ed or John? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Did I not have a motion?
You hadn't even closed the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's closed. Bam. Close that, baby. That public hearing's closed.
Okay. Now as for
yeah, it's only been 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, now I'll get a motion in a second.
Okay, now let's look for a motion in a second. I get a motion by Dan, second by John. Any other discussion?
And this is to approve the vacation as presented?
Yes.
Okay.
This is number 8. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go to number 9. Vacation of a portion of 10th Avenue South between Lot 8, Block 2, Polson's Addition, and Lot 20, Block 2, Southside Addition, Resolution number 16-26. Now, this does not have a public hearing, am I correct?
I was just going to clarify that. We held the public hearing at the August 15th meeting, and then we tabled action.
All right. So at this time, what I'll do is I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by, I didn't hear it, the motion, by Randy, second by Beth. Any further discussion on this? Any questions, comments? I don't hear any. Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Point of privilege, Your Honor. I was just going to tell you that from 4 o'clock on, I tried to get on the city website to get the agenda. Can't get there.
Really?
Mhm.
Let's string him up.
Your fault.
Spence?
Thank you.
You're the man. Thanks, John. Okay. All right. I just watched Ben-Hur the other night, yeah. Number 10, first reading of ordinance number 1618-2017 city budget. Shelley, you want to give us a little insight on that?
I can. With first reading, I'll just be really brief, but the ordinance being presented is considered a balanced budget. It does reflect the mayor's proposed budget with the changes that were requested by the council during those budget hearing meetings. And Glenn, because he wasn't going to be here, had brought up a question about the numbers, and it was a good question and one that I had failed to talk about during the budget hearing. So I just kind of wanted to explain, just so everybody in the audience, if they're looking at it, specifically for the general fund and the Park and Rec fund. When you look at the numbers, it appears that the expenditures are greater than the revenues coming in, and that it's anticipated we're going to use some fund balance in order to get the budget balanced. Because of the conservative way that we budget the revenues and expenditures, when we balance the budget, when the mayor and I look at it and see what needs to be cut, what doesn't need to be cut, we calculate that based on a 5-year historical data chart. Historically, we collect more than we anticipate. We spend less than we anticipate. So we take those percentages and we put those into the requested numbers. And then, so we're going to anticipate getting more, spending less, and then that's how we get that budget balance. So you will see that, and historically, we're at the 106%. We usually collect over what we anticipate, and we spend about 95.6, I believe, percent of what we normally budget. So historically speaking, 2009 was the one year that we didn't. So the other reason that we do this, and this is also a conservative way to budget, is this would be the worst case scenario if we only collected what is here, if we spent everything we said we were going to spend. This would be the worst case scenario, and what would the impact on the budget be? And you can see that we would still have a healthy fund balance. Even if we use those dollars, we would still have almost 4 months of a reserve. And GFOA recommends 2 to 3 based on the volatility. So we would still do good. If we had to use all of it, we don't anticipate doing that, so we balance the budget using those historical data. So second reading and adoption will be September 19th, and that will comply with state statute requirement that we have a budget adopted no later than September 30th. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Shelley. So we'll move on. Number 11, first reading of ordinance number 1613, amending chapter 21.10 of the revised ordinance of the city of Watertown regarding commercial building heights. Shane, you want to just give us a little update on what's going on there?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. City staff has routinely been asked about our commercial building height restrictions in the past several years, and what the trend is similar to the Hampton Inn Hotel, where hotels are now becoming three stories plus tall structures, and they're requesting variances because of the way our ordinance has a restriction on those heights. So staff has requested that we increase the building heights in the C1, C2, and C3 districts to a maximum of 60 feet. Previously, they were 50 and 30 feet.
Okay, thank you, Shane. Number 12, first reading of ordinance number 1616, repealing section 2.0113 of the revised ordinance of the city of Watertown regarding restrictions on issuance of malt beverage package dealer licenses. Justin, if you want to give us a little short version of that.
Will do. Thank you, Mayor. The impetus for this ordinance change, this repeal, is to simply make sure that, one type of license isn't singled out for seemingly unknown reasons. What this ordinance did and does currently is restrict malt beverage retailers' licenses to those businesses that predominantly do business in food preparation on the premises, that's sold on the premises, lodging, or in selling alcohol. This ordinance was adopted back in 1993. What this clarification would do by eliminating this provision is to simply get rid of a provision that didn't seem to have any rationale as far as we could discern at this point in time, and just to ensure that folks don't have to pay the $25 more to circumvent this law to get an on-sale, off-sale, or an off-sale malt beverage and an off-sale retail wine license. So that's the genesis behind this ordinance.
Okay, thanks, Justin. We'll move on to number 13, first reading of ordinance 1617, adding a new section to chapter 2.01 of the revised ordinance of the City of Watertown regarding the issuance of special alcoholic beverage licenses in conjunction with special events. Again, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. This is quite simple. It is simply a codification in ordinance of what was passed in resolution at the last regular session of City Council with regard to the special alcohol beverage event license.
Okay, we'll move on. Number 14 was pulled. Number 15, consideration of lease agreement with Prairie Lakes Healthcare Systems Incorporated for city-owned property located in the Curlins Outlet Number 1. We discussed this in great detail earlier on our work session. I would encourage anybody to take a look at that. This is up on the St. Anne's Hill to the south of the current parking lot. We are going to lease this spot. How big is it, Shane? Is it 123 by 126, or
Yeah.
what is the size of it?
That's the dimensions. It's approximately 1/3 of an acre.
Okay, 1/3 of an acre. We're going to lease them that particular property for $1. They're going to do full facilities on there. They're going to have infrastructure on there. They're going to put the parking lot in there. They're going to maintain the parking lot. They're going to keep the dermatology unit on there until 2018. At that particular time, they will remove that building, and then hopefully we can then have someone donate us a small building for kids that they can use it as a warming house going up and down the St. Anne's Hill. All the infrastructure will stay in. The hospital will continue to clean the parking lot and keep the snow off of it. That's kind of what's going on in a nutshell. If there's any questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mayor, will they then be using that parking lot daily for their business then?
They will, yes. And then once the dermatology unit is gone, they will continue to use that as parking.
And how does this lease compare to, don't we own the land that they're currently parking on across the street to the west? Or is that
No,
theirs?
that's theirs.
It is theirs.
Yeah, that's their land. So what I'll do is I'll look for a motion in a second for discussion on this. Motion by Bruce. Second by Beth. Any other questions on that? Hearing none, I'll.
Well, wait, Mayor, I do have one. Is it possible, have there been any discussions about the building, this temporary building? Is this something they're going to remove and put elsewhere to use, or
No,
would
no.
they be destroying that building?
No.
I don't understand.
This is a very expensive building they're
Okay.
bringing in for the dermatology unit. They're leasing it for the 2.5 years or a little over 2 years. They will turn that building back over to the owners of it, and it will be gone. But all the infrastructure will be there for us to be able to place a small warming house on there.
Okay,
with
thank you.
bathrooms and electricity and such. Yep, it'll all be there for us. So they'll put all that infrastructure into the facility for us.
And, Mayor, if I could just clarify.
Certainly.
Thank you. The end date, the date that they expect that clinic to be off of would be April 1st of 2019, so the latest.
I think I said 18 twice, didn't I? Sorry about that.
No, that's.
So we are looking at 19. So the kids will be able to use it. We can get a warming house up there, which you may build, Bruce. We'd accept
Thank you.
that. And the kids will be able to use that in the winter of 2019.
It was 19, right? Just 19?
Yes, sir.
That'll give you some time to start buying lumber. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's a good deal, guys. I think that's going to turn out really good for the St. Anne Hill kids. Number 16, authorization for the police department to accept a grant from the State Drug Control Fund for the purchase of body cameras and for the mayor to sign a purchase agreement for the cameras. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Randy, second by Bruce. And Scotty, if you want to light up the lights for us.
I will.
here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Scott McMahon, Captain of Watertown Police Department. We come here tonight to ask for permission to accept a grant from the South Dakota Attorney General's Office, specifically the Drug Control Fund. Earlier this year, we became aware of an opportunity to make application for funding to purchase body-worn cameras for the officers in our department. And like I said, recently we became notified that we are a recipient of funding to do that project. So that's what we're here for.
One of the questions that has been brought up to me, Scott, and I know that it's 100% paid by the state on these particular funds for the cameras.
Yes.
But after the first year, then there's operating expenses that your department will see, will it not?
There is. It was roughly $23,000 that we received through the Attorney General Drug Control Fund, which gives us the initial purchase of the cameras and the first year of maintenance, if you will. But then from that point moving forward, there's a 5-year agreement to take care of the maintenance and the storage of the video that those cameras capture. So that ends up being just under $13,000 a year, like $12,995, I think it is. So, but that's what that funding would be on an annual basis. That reoccurring funds would be to support the maintenance, replacement cost, and storage of the video.
So it's a small amount to pay for what you're getting.
It really is.
Yes. So is that 13,000 additional to this?
Yes.
I mean, so you'd have to pay that for the first year?
Yes, over the
Okay.
course of the 5-year agreement, one to purchase all the cameras, and then the next 5 years of maintenance, the total value is about $75,000.
Just out of curiosity, what, it says what kind of cameras here, but, I mean, are they worn here?
I think this is the Axon camera by Taser, and I think it's a chest-worn camera.
Okay.
They do have different types and models, of course.
Yeah, I've seen.
What we've tested over the last couple of years has been more of a chest-worn camera, but they do make some that are earpieces and so forth. So,
Scott, I go back, when we had discussed probably a couple of years ago now the possible purchase of tasers at that time, and
Sure.
there was a lot that was talked about in regards to policies of use and procedures for use, et cetera, et cetera. Is there something that's documented or will be documented in regards to these cameras and the video that they capture? Because the one thing that seems like you hear a lot of when it becomes known in a public environment, that when there's an issue that's big enough that draws everybody's attention, is that the video has been altered. The video, I mean, there's always that skepticism. Sure. How do we ensure the public that these will be used appropriately, the data will be stored, and in a responsible manner?
yeah, like I say, we've been testing this process for about the last 2 years, specifically the hardware. Over the course of this summer, we've researched policies, and Captain Remmers has prepared a policy based on standards that have come from other departments, major departments in the U.S. So by policy, we'll have it covered. And then, of course, as far as which piece of hardware to go with and so forth, and the cloud storage of video, Assistant Chief Toomey has done most of that research. So I would be confident in saying that through training, through policy, and through experiences that happen in the United States, that we'll be able to make sure that when those videos are requested, we'll have them available. Some things just happen instantaneously where you may not have the camera on, but for the most part, if our officers are approaching a call for service, they'll have that camera on, and there's specific guidelines as to what and when and how.
Scott, I probably should know this. Do we have cameras in the cars?
We do, and that's a good point, Dan, that with technology, it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 step. You start with maybe in-car cameras like we did, but then you move to, a body camera, and then, of course, there's, various cameras that you can get on weapons and so forth, but it's all tying that all together as far as where do you store all the video, and right now with our in-car cameras, we're storing those to just local servers, but eventually we might be able to tie all this together, the cameras on the body cameras, the car cameras, and put that into one system that's easily searchable and easily accessible by not just our department, but we might have the state's attorney's office that wants to look at those videos, or we might have somebody from council or the mayor that would need to look at those videos for a certain purpose. So that's the nice part about having a cloud storage is that cloud storage can be opened up to those that are in need of seeing that video or have a right to see the video.
Is it my understanding, though, too, that the advantage of having that cloud storage, and maintained in an off-site setting is that there is no opportunity to tamper with it?
That's correct. It's these videos will be, stored in a manner that everything will be tracked, so that if somebody does look at the video, you'll be able to know who it was and when it was. But in addition to that, a lot of the video is never used. And that's our hope, is that we can record video all day long, and our hope is that we'll never need it. But, you have to have a mechanism to manage all that video. I mean, you're talking tons of data out there that eventually you have to dispose of. And what this cloud storage will allow us to do is set parameters. Okay, this is a class 2 misdemeanor. Let's have that disappear after 60 days, 90 days. Whereas right now, we manually have to go in and, okay, let's look at this video. Okay, we don't need that anymore. So it's just the efficiency, proper channels to be able to go in and manage how much video there is there.
My understanding, too, that the cameras that you were testing have already served a really valuable purpose in a couple different types of events where you were able, for prosecution, for safety of the officers.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes of why we need to put one on all the officers.
Sure. I think we're just in that day and age where people expect to see video, whether that's the state's attorney's office, the judge, maybe a victim of a crime. Whoever it might be that has interest in that case, everybody expects that there's some kind of video out there to preserve the scene or document what happened. And I think we're just in an age where we need to move forward and be part of that technology.
Scott, when they pull, how does it get downloaded into the cloud?
Well, there's simply a port that connects to an IP address that sends it to where it needs to go. I haven't been extremely involved in that aspect of it, Randy, but I know it's very simple to upload that video to the cloud, and it's very simple to manage.
So like the end of the shift, the officer comes in, he or she, and
Yep.
and just downloads it, plugs it into something and downloads it, doesn't just do it automatically.
Right,
So.
and this would be for the officers that are in the patrol division. We're not looking at buying each one for command staff.
Yep.
There might not be as high a need there, but certainly all the patrol officers that are out there interacting, handling calls for service, those officers need to have that video. And like I said, not for their protection, and not for just the public's protection, but just everybody expects that there should be video for all those reasons: liability, public protection.
And it would be mandatory at the end of the shift to download it. It's not their discretion whether or not to download it.
That would be true. There'd be
Okay.
a policy in place to make sure that those videos are preserved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. That was very good. I believe we have a motion, a second on the floor. At this time, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Scott. Yeah. Number 17, authorization for mayor to sign and submit an AIP grant application and sign the state award letter for the regional airport runway project. At this time, I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by Dan. Give us a little rundown on this. And if you would, since you're going to get into the talking about the dollars, further into your discussion, would you discuss a little bit about the way that the FAA collects the dollars through the tax situation for EAS, for runway projects, for all the different types of projects?
Sure. So our match is on the board there. It's 437,500. That's a 5% match on the project. And what we're asking for tonight is we don't have the grant yet from the federal government. We haven't heard if we actually got awarded the money. So what we're asking for tonight is if and when we do get awarded the grant, this will give the mayor authorization to sign. This is not holding us to anything. This isn't locking a contractor in that we'll get stuck with or anything to that matter. So this will only get executed if the federal government allows us the grant money. So is there any other questions about the grant?
So Todd, if they do allow us grant money and we move forward with this project, the federal government pretty much handles everything from there, right, as far as awarding the bids, and or is this done?
I still do a lot of that, but
Okay.
yes, we work in conjunction with the state and the federal branch and Helms and Associates as well.
Todd, there was my understanding, I think you'd mentioned a number of weeks ago, one of the reasons why it may be delayed in issuing this grant was a shortfall on there in regards to the estimated cost. Isn't that correct? I believe is what.
Correct. The federal government had the numbers crossed.
Right. I think there was like $2 million shortfall
Correct.
or something.
They had $6 million budgeted.
Where are they at with that? Do we have any idea?
We do have a very good idea. That's why we came to council with this.
Okay.
The time we did.
You're thinking it's going to move forward?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I think what I'll do, Todd, is I'm going to ask for council action on this, and then if you'll take just a couple of minutes and kind of go through what we had discussed. If there's no other questions, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Todd, if you'll take a couple of minutes and just explain a little bit about the funding process on the FAA, how they fund these runways, your equipment, the EAS services, and then since we're going to be on the airport, I hate to let you go until you talk about a little bit about ADI.
Sure, no problem. So how this stuff all gets funded is it was set up in 1970. It's the Airport and Airway Trust Fund. What that is if you look at your tickets specifically, if you buy an airline ticket, there's a few taxes that go on there. It looks like kind of like a hotel. There's just numerous different taxes that go on per ticket. So those taxes are actually put into this this Airway Trust Fund. And at currently starting the year, they were at about $15 billion. They were actually, just over $15 billion starting the year with that fund. So what that fund does is it's not a tax that the city or local public pays. This is only people who fly pay this tax. So what that does is it funds, it's a self-funding program for any airport, commercial airport and general aviation airport in the nation. This is where we get the runway money, the taxiway projects, the equipment, the operations as far as the Essential Air Service program is funded out of this. So there's no taxpayer money that goes into these programs. It's a self-funded program, as I stated. So,
Todd, if I'm going to just interject a little bit. I think one of the reasons as it was ever put into place was cities of our size, all of a sudden you have a runway that's $8 million. We couldn't afford to continually do that. I mean, and then you would have a depletion of airports in the United States.
Correct.
So this funding mechanism allowed airports to continue to expand and continue to be needed in our areas. So when they come up and say $8 million, this is dollars that are based on every ticket that you fly with. Am I correct?
that is correct.
You get dollars off of that. It goes into this big trust fund, and that's how we use this. So
How does that work in with just the general aviation part of it? Do they pay, when a plane comes in, he pays a fee to land?
No, the general aviation airports get a lump sum of money every year, and they can bank that money for 5 years. After 5 years, if they don't use the money, it actually goes back into the fund.
Okay, so and I'm not to pick on anybody, just going to say FedEx, for example. They fly in every night and drop off freight. Doesn't cost them anything to land in Watertown.
Yes, they pay a landing fee.
That was my question, kind of, so
Yes,
they are.
that's a separate issue.
Okay.
But yes, they are a separate fund. That goes to the city.
Oh, okay.
So that's a commercial operation.
Okay.
And same with ADI. They pay a landing fee per the weight of the aircraft,
Okay.
every landing and takeoff.
Okay. Another thing I want to touch on is, there's been this big question about the EAS service discontinuing Watertown. And I just want everybody to understand how this has worked, through the process that we've been dealing with for the last 18 months. And how the same people that sent us the letter in the process that they have to do on the EAS service, dropping EAS service, are the same ones that put ADI into Watertown just a month ago. So if you'll kind of explain how that process works, what we're expecting.
Sure.
Some people have made it out to be like this is the end of the world for
Right.
ADI coming to Watertown, which in fact, far from that.
Correct. So before we asked for the vacate order last year, I was sitting in this same seat talking to you guys about the $200 subsidy cap and the $1,000 subsidy cap. The $200 subsidy cap is because we're within 210 miles of a medium-sized hub, 1.5 million employments, which is Minneapolis. So we are actually still working with Justin to rebut the 210-mile rule, but we're just going to leave it lie as of right now and get the waiver first. So we knew about this $200 subsidy cap. We were going to break it last year, over a year ago. What we were doing with vacating the order with Great Lakes was staying under the $1,000 threshold, which is an automatic boot to the program. You can get it back, but it's very, very, very difficult. We decided to, or you guys decided to vacate the order with Great Lakes, which stopped our number at $910 per passenger. So obviously we were over the $200 passenger last year. We knew this. The government this year did something different. They usually place these orders in a docket per city. This year they lumped us all together. Everybody who broke the $200 cap. It's rare that they did that, but I'm guessing it's because of an election year, and they didn't want to make a decision per city. They just wanted to make a lump decision, which will be good. We have had great discussions. I've been talking to the federal government for the last over a year, the two people who directly deal with this situation, and we just have to file the paperwork by September 28th this year to this transportation secretary and apply for a waiver. There is also the FAA reauthorization bill. If you haven't studied up on that, it's something to read at night when you're not doing anything else. It actually goes back to 2012 numbers is what the federal government said. Before the pilot rule, before the crew rest rule, and a certain company that we had tossed out had wrecked a lot of communities. And so the federal government thought it'd be appropriate to go back to the 2012 numbers for next year, and we'll be fine there.
Any other questions that we have for Todd on our airlines?
What's the average employment, or whatever you want, average?
Employments, yep.
Yep.
People getting on?
Yep.
So in the first 3 weeks, we have exceeded my expectations, very much so. We are currently, last week and this week, we're averaging 25 people per day getting on the plane. And
Per day or per flight?
Per day.
Okay.
Per day. So we have had some numbers at 28 per flight. We've actually had a 34 per flight. That was yesterday. We actually filled the plane going to Pier. I'm sorry, going to Denver, between Watertown and Pier. So our numbers are looking extraordinarily well.
Are they exceeding ADI's expectations?
They are, very
Good,
much so.
good.
We're over a 40% load factor right now.
Good.
Which, they were expecting 30. So
Todd, when you look at that, you say 25 employments every day going out, right?
That's correct.
So 25 times, say, an average of 300 because of the things you're looking at.
Correct.
About 7,500 people. That's leaving.
Correct.
And then you count also what's coming back in. Am I correct?
Correct.
So let's say that everybody that left comes back. So now you're looking at nearly 15,000 employments for Watertown. That's been unheard of for us for a long time. If you did that, Watertown would be eligible for the $1 million that you can bank, just as you said to Randy earlier. Am I correct?
The actual, the numbers that we're counting there are called passengers, in and out. Employments are just out. So we would need 10,000 employments to get the $1 million entitlement fund. But with the numbers it's 25 passengers a day is what we need going out to hit the 10,000 employments mark.
Where was
that's with weekend flights included. So, or I'm sorry, the number he just read was without weekend flights. So as we throw the weekend flights in there, it'll be over 10,000.
Where was the heyday of the old airlines? You know, when
1996 and 1997, we were over 10,000.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
12,000 a year, both years.
Right.
So we should.
And that was with a smaller plane.
Should almost exceed that the first year here.
Yes, I would suspect that we get very close this first year if we don't break that cap. So the second part of that question, to reiterate the passenger load in and out, that's how they count the $200 subsidy cap. So if you have, let's say you have a $2 million subsidy, to make numbers easy. You divide that by 2 for the $200 subsidy cap. So you have 10,000 in and out. So you would need 5,000 employments. If all of them came back, you would have your 10,000 passengers. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if we indeed keep at the 7,500 rough number, I believe ADI only had 60. I'd have to go back at the
6,900.
68 or 6,900 is what they estimated for the first year.
Right.
Do you feel the marketing we're doing is helping? Do you see anything we should be? I'm sure it is helping. Do you see anything we should do different, or?
At the moment, I think we're doing a great job. I did have a meeting with the mayor this afternoon, and we're going to get some other marketing on board as far as a TV marketing campaign. So when Megan gets back from the chamber, we're going to definitely discuss that. We have a few options that the mayor let me know today that we're going to discuss.
Can you do you got any idea of where a lot of these people are coming from, just off the top of your head, or?
I had 2 calls from Sioux Falls today.
Okay.
And
are we hearing people, Brookings people, Aberdeen
correct.
people?
Yep. The mayor had a gentleman in his office today that flew in from Brookings, I'm sorry, he flew from Denver.
He was from Denver, and there was a person on the plane with him from Brookings that had driven up here.
Great. That's what we need to see. So
yeah, we're actually hitting a fairly large market, and I'm waiting for my first month. I'm actually pretty giddy to see where the numbers lie after the first month, to see where these passengers are coming from.
Can you kind of keep us up to date on that with just a little email every now and then, just because out of my own curiosity? I'd like to see that. So we know that our marketing dollars are being spent wisely, or do we need to throw a little bit more out there? Or so thank you.
And we're spending $4,000 a month right now on advertising. Yes. But I would like to take a couple of steps back about the letter that is being written. We are actually having Mead and Hunt, who helped us bring in the airline of ADI, along with the DOT. Mead and Hunt, Jeff is going to be drafting that letter. Am I correct?
Correct. And also, so if this is an inkling of any kind of hope for this letter, we were in discussions with the federal DOT, the 2 gentlemen who take care of this, and both gentlemen offered up their support for our airline consultant to contact them to help them draft this letter.
That's pretty cool.
That is.
Okay, any other questions for Todd? Thanks, Todd. That it helped everybody a lot, I think, the understanding where we're at on things, and appreciate it.
I was going to let you know, too, just to back up to the last item, if I could just mention something. We only have 2 spots left for private hangars. After that, after Tibbs Peterson's hangar goes in, we only have 2 spots left, and we built that taxiway last year. So we're doing very well out there as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to slide down now. I believe we had 17 voted on. Everything was done. So we'll go to 18, authorization for the mayor to sign professional service agreement with Integra for the ice arena project in the amount of $45,500. This is interesting. I'm gonna look for a motion in a second first, then we'll have a little discussion. Motion by Mike, second by Bruce. This is interesting. If you remember right, when we built the community center, we hired Tegra, and Bruce was very instrumental in getting an owner's rep on board at the time. What Tegra will do is Tegra will come in and help the city of Watertown go through interview process of the CMAR, the construction manager, who will then also be instrumental in all the paperwork to get the architect on board. And this is going to go extremely smooth. And I think when Nate comes to town and gets working on this, we will expect that probably within the next week to 10 days, we'll start getting out information, what we're looking for a CMAR for this particular project on the ice. So that's what we're at. And I think it's just a really good process, and it worked really well for us first time. And I think it'll work secondly very, very well. Any other discussion on it? Anybody want to make other comments on that?
Well, Mayor, I know that we got brought Tegra in later than we had wanted to on that project because we were still in the learning curve, but you know, their involvement with that project, they more than paid for their services with what they saved us, and were able to, with their experience and such. So it's really where you know, we're hoping to spend a nickel to save a dime kind of thing. And plus I think we'll end up with a better product, so.
I would agree, and it was just very easy.
Where are we at, where are we going to look at budget-wise in the end of the community center?
You know, we're actually coming in extremely well. I think we're still under budget. It's, yeah, the bills keep coming in every month, but I think we're doing extremely well. We're under budget. I was talking to the architects today. He claimed that, he said, we are one of the few that can actually say that that our numbers are lower than what they had expected. So it's coming in very well. Yeah, so we're pretty happy with that. So that being said, we'll look for council action on that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 19, authorization for the mayor to sign an addendum to the memorandum of understanding between the city of Watertown and Cottington County. What this is, folks, this is the memorandum where the tribal, the casino up there, that the tribe pays the city or pays the Cottington County dollars for protection out there, whether it be for fire or ambulance, police protection. I think the county does a lot of police protection, and then we get a third of the dollars. And this is something that has been going on now for a few years. It will increase in, what year is it that it increases, Justin?
It is at, the amount that we get is $225,000. So we get a third of that, which comes out to $75,000 each year in 2 installments each year. And then that would increase in 2019 to $300,000, of which we will receive $100,000 a year.
Very good. So, Shelley, did I get a motion on that? Let's look for a motion in a second for any other discussion. Got a motion by Randy, second by Bruce. Any other questions on that?
Will those dollars come directly to the city then, or will they still funnel through the county?
They will funnel through the county. No other questions? I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 20, authorization for the street department to purchase a truck, chassis/cab from North Central International in the amount of $30,000. What I'll do is I'll look for a motion in a second, and then we'll let Rob get an explanation for us. Motion by Beth.
Second.
Second by Dan. Okay, Rob, take it on there.
Thanks, Mayor. We had an opportunity come to my attention here for that. What this is a brand new truck, cab, chassis. It's got the drivetrain, the engine. It's a complete truck that way. It doesn't have a box or anything like that on it. So what the deal is this truck came to Titans in Watertown, from what I understand, or it was owned by Terex. And when Terex put their stuff on this truck, or on what they thought was this truck, it ended up being the wrong truck. So they were stuck with this truck, and it's been sitting on a lot since 2011. What it is, it's a brand new truck, but there is no warranty on it. It was driven from the factory to Watertown, so that's the only miles on it. But this truck, actually, if you purchase that truck today, it'd be well over $90,000. We can pick this truck up for $30,000 right now, but with no warranty at all. So what we would have to do is, after the fact, we'd have to outfit it with our box and, you know, the attachments we need on it. So
What is the proposed use?
it would be another. We were thinking about putting a low side dump bed on it, so it would be used for sanding in the winter, and then in the summer it'd be part of our patch crew truck, one of our patch crew trucks. So we wouldn't be rigging it up for a plow, but just sanding. So
Is this something that is eligible for like an extended warranty opportunity, or
I'm
if
sure
there's a
you could
concern with
probably
that?
buy something out there, being as it is a new truck, but the factory warranty has been gone for quite a while. So, and I think I attached some pictures to your packet. I don't know if you see that there. I'd show you a picture of the truck. It's actually at Titan in Watertown. They're an affiliate to North Central International, which is out of Sioux Falls. So the truck is in town.
And then the obvious question is budget-wise, we didn't budget for this truck, so where would these funds come from?
It would be out of our truck funds. We've carried over, we have available dollars for this that were set aside for a dump truck purchase. This is just a little different way of doing it. So it was an opportunity that looks good, but instead of just going out and purchasing it, I wanted to have your guys' approval.
Typically, you'd bid it with box and all, right?
Right. And
Do you have any anticipation what the box would run?
I did get a basic quote for a stake type box, which is just a flat bed with a 13.5 ton hoist. I actually got that today. Let's see here.
I didn't see a picture of the truck
Neither did I.
in your packet here.
I didn't.
So if you've got it, maybe you can put it on the screen.
Actually, I don't think I actually have a picture in here.
We've all driven by Terex. We know what those trucks look like. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all white.
yeah.
It is a white truck.
We'll let you put a yellow sticker on the side of it or something.
Yeah. I did get, can you guys put the camera up? Well, I got a quote today. There's no picture here, but this quote here explains a 14-foot flatbed, actually wood deck, but it'd have the side post holes, and then 13-ton, 50-degree lift, but for $19,546. So that'd be on the low end. If we were to do an all-steel box and do a short side, it'd be higher than that. So, but you'd still be looking at being into a new dump truck for a lot less than you'd have for just the truck itself if you bought that today with a warranty. So
I kind of go along with what Mike was saying. I'd at least check in to see what an extended warranty on that would be, so.
Right.
Yeah, you can do that, Rob.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Rob on this truck? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 21, consideration of bids to purchase 2 street department dump trucks. And I'll look for a motion, a second on this for discussion. Motion by Beth.
Second.
Second by Bruce. Scared me for a minute there. Did you guys see Rob shaking in his boots? So Rob, go ahead and give us a little update on that.
What we have here is an opportunity to purchase off another community's bid for 2 dump trucks. What this is, Dakota Dunes Community Improvement District had just recently in February or March, I believe, March, had purchased a dump truck. They went out for bids, competitive bids. They did have, as you'll see in your packet, they did have competitive bidding, but what they show here is they didn't take the lowest bidder. So I did some research to find out what the deal was there, And they did send me, which I handed out tonight. I don't know if you guys got that. It wasn't in the packet because I got it after the packet went out. But it basically shows the each company why they didn't meet spec. And it shows each line that's highlighted, you'll see why they didn't meet spec. So what they did, their council agreed to go with the lowest bidder that did meet spec completely. And that's why you'll see the $4,111 increase over the lowest bidder. So it was I-State International out of Sioux Falls. It's a Freightliner truck, and Sanitation Products would be gearing the truck up with a box, stainless steel sander box, a dump truck box, and a plow and hitch assembly. So these trucks come fully loaded. Let's see here. Oops, sorry. I-State Truck Center has sent us a letter which they've agreed to honor that price as the primary vendor, and to honor that bid is actually what they'd be doing. So we would be spending on the two trucks $285,930, fully rigged with everything we need, and these meet our specs completely. That'd be for two trucks.
And what did you have budgeted for those trucks? Do you remember that?
We have $372,000 budgeted for 3 trucks, and by doing this, with this last truck you guys just approved, we should be well under budget for all 3.
Very good. Any other questions for Rob? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Number 22, consideration of change order number 1 to the contract with J&J Earthworks for the sanitary sewer replacement project, increasing the amount by $4,750. I'll look for a motion in a second, and then we'll have Shane take on the discussion. Motion by Randy, second by Bruce. Shane, if you want to give us an update on that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. During our annual sewer rehabilitation and replacement project, one of the blocks that we worked on was 3rd Street northeast over here, a block to our east of where we're sitting. And when we began digging and excavating for the replacement of that sewer main, we encountered a water main conflict at the intersection of Kemp Avenue. So what that necessitated us to do was to lower the water main to keep our sanitary sewer on grade. And subsequently, the bill for that, including all fittings, labor, and et cetera, was $4,750. We do have enough budget in this project to accommodate the additional costs, and staff recommends approval.
Any questions for Shane on that? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 23, consideration of change order number 1 to the contract with Clausen Construction Incorporated for the Cook Complex Extension Center parking lot reconstruction project, increasing the contract amount $11,386. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes, then we'll turn it over to Shane. Motion by John, second by Beth, and Shane, if you'll give us a little update on that.
Sure. Would you put my screen on, Spencer? Okay. The area where this is a little bit darker and discolored portion of the parking lot is the area that we're completely reconstructing. So we've taken all the asphalt off of it, and we're excavating the grade to put more gravel underneath the existing pavement, or for the future pavement, excuse me. And in doing so, we actually cut through what we would consider be a crust of, there was some thin asphalt laid over some asphalt millings and so forth, which was essentially the granular base before that. Well, when we cut through that, we found that the subsoils were very saturated, wet, not supportive, And so we discussed how we would approach the remedy of that. It was a twofold remedy. We had the contractor scarify and dry and disc that material as best as they could in a 2-day period. And then we decided to supplement that with putting a separation fabric, which we've used on a few street projects here in town successfully, to keep the gravel from being pumped into that softer subgrade. As far as I know, that work should go forward very well. But again, that was our remedy. We negotiated a price of $2 a square yard to support that gravel underneath this portion of the parking lot.
Any questions for Shane?
Shane, where's that at on our total budget?
We still have, we came in under budget with the bids there, and we still are under our total project estimate was $277,000. We're only at $247 right
Okay.
now. So
And part of this is being paid by the county, correct?
this portion of the project is not.
Okay.
This is
Right.
100% city funds in this portion.
Are they running into the same issue at the other end?
No, because we didn't take off the entire pavement structure.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Shane. And it is going to be a real improvement out there when we're done. Number 24, any old business. I do have a couple of things I wanted to mention under old business. If you recall, we sent a letter to the Department of Transportation to reduce the speed limit on Highway 81 from Highway 212 going south up to the hill. And they accepted the letter. They have put us on their agenda, so we will be on, Cottington County and City of Watertown will be on their agenda on September the 26th. Bruce and I will be attending that meeting, and I would encourage anybody out there that if you want to write us a letter or something that we can take along, and actually we need to get it to the DOT board prior to the meeting so that they can look at it and understand what our dilemma has been on that highway, near misses, accidents, and things such as that. So Bruce and I will be attending that on the 26th. The meeting is at, I believe, 9:30 in the morning. I forget the name. It's right where the Secretary of Transportation is.
Mayor, it's the Becker Hansen building?
Becker Hansen building, and it's very, very easy to find. So if anybody wants to go and sit in on that hearing, you're welcome to do that. So Bruce and I will be doing it. I also wanted, this is not really under new business or old business, but I wanted to throw it out there. Today I had a chance to go and visit with some first graders at Jefferson School, and some of the weirdest questions, come out at you, and like, what's your favorite color, and different things like that. And there was just one little girl that popped up, and she says, I think you know my mom. I says, I don't know. What's your mom's name? And she says, her name's Kristen. And I said, Kristen Bobzine? And she said, yeah, that's my mom. She was so happy and thrilled. It was amazing. But Victoria was just the sweetest little girl you ever did meet. I don't know how Kristen ever got a little girl like that, but it did happen. Yeah, it was very nice. It was fun. I had to throw it out, Kristen. You're going to give me heck tomorrow. I know it. So any other old business that we need?
So what was your favorite color?
Blue.
It's not purple?
No, I said blue. It is. It is. It's very easy. Number 25, any new business that you guys need to discuss? Any liaison member reports? There is a need to go into executive session. We will be going under contract negotiations. There is I think it's contract negotiations. There is a good chance that we will have some action after this, 50-50 on that, so who knows. So at this time, I'll look for a motion and a second to go into executive session. Motion by Randy, a second by Bruce. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion